What if I told you it was possible to permanently crash any Minecraft server in survival without using any massive lag machines or update suppressors, and it could be all done with 0 redstone? This is a memory ban, Minecraft's deadliest crash exploit. You may be wondering what a memory ban is in the first place. In simplified terms, a memory ban is an oversized chunk which the server saves to a region file. When this chunk is attempted to be loaded, it will max out the memory of the server and the server will crash. The server can't save its current state without running out of memory, so the server reverts to the last autosave. So manipulating anything inside of it is impossible, and it is force unloaded. Eventually, this was even used in an unfinished Minecraft prison with Scene's Fen called Terminus. This prison was using a bunch of new technology like memory bands and would be much different than the prisons at the time, keeping in mind that this was before Gaia's Vault was even released. So why wasn't Terminus released? Well, this prison was always changing and the idea was getting more and more complex, with new exploits being discovered, which would make it more difficult to build. Eventually, people started losing motivation for the project and JayJay disappeared. The project eventually went silent and has been suspended since then. This was at a point before even chunk bans were part of the community, so memory bands were discovered by all the community much later, and this prison literally would patch multiple universal escapes that most people wouldn't know about for at least a couple months. A couple of months after that, on the 1-year anniversary of Gaia's Vault, I encountered memory bands for the first time when I was building an unreleased prison called the Cyborg System. I was working on a video on the best wither defenses for Minecraft prisons, and this was around the time where there was a lot of talk about an exploit called Force Unload Chunks, which was basically memory bands except they didn't crash when loaded. I decided I would attempt to build a Force Unload chunk just once. I created a book, now known as Chunk Unload Number 1, and I filled a chunk with shulkers. I expected for this chunk to reset when I restarted the server, but instead the server crashed instantly. I had no idea what just happened, and after looking through the logs, I was more confused than when I started. I asked Krisp if they had any idea what this was, and that's when I learned it was a memory ban. Now you may be wondering why unloaded chunks are even useful for patching escapes in Minecraft prisons. Well, this was in some way shown off just 2 months before this in the DEADLIEST Labyrinth video. DEADLIEST Labyrinth was basically a massive prison that was so large that there was guaranteed to be unloaded chunks without loading them somehow. Having unloaded chunks surrounding your prison can stop you from activating a llama cannon to send items into the cell, using withers, and using ender pearls to travel into the prison. However, even this system was not perfect, though it did a decent job at stopping outside escapes regardless. Much later, a new prison was being built, called Neon Void. This prison was absolutely massive, redundant, and was even larger than DEADLIEST Labyrinth, which is over 6,000 blocks long. The prison was going to have outer memory band walls, however the method they were using was inconsistent and might not even work at all. Eventually, Neon Void was cancelled due to it requiring massive design changes for it to work, and due to a lack of motivation of the people working on it, as they had been working on it for months now. After this, most people believed that memory bands didn't work anymore due to a lack of testing on Spigot, and because the method for making them was largely unknown at this time. After doing a lot of testing, building, waiting for autosaves, and restarting my server, I finally found a consistent method for memory bands, which uses chests filled with the original Chunk Unload Number 1 books. This new, more consistent method is now being used in a couple of projects. However, because they are still ongoing, I'm not going to talk about them at this time. Alright, so now that you know the history of the memory ban, let me explain why this exploit is so deadly for Minecraft servers. Because memory bans don't activate when loaded, all you need to do is find some way to always trigger the memory ban so that it will crash the server forever. This can be accomplished using spawn chunks. The spawn chunks are a 23 by 23 constantly loaded area, which if we place the memory ban in, will permanently crash the server, making this by far Minecraft's most powerful crash exploit. Thank you for watching.